Hello everyone, welcome to the episode 18th of The Perspective. My guest today is one of my favorite people that I learned a lot from when I started my marketing career, the Facebook ads genius and founder of one of the top digital marketing academies, Dennis Yu. Dennis has been featured in top marketing communities such as Social Media Examiner, Digital Marketer, and he works with the biggest companies and teams in the world such as the Golden State Warriors. Dennis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mano. What a pleasure, especially after a few years that we've been connected.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you today on the show because you are really one of the few people that provides real value to the community. So, before we jump into this, can you tell us more about you and what you do at Blitz Metrics?
Happy to. So I'm here to create jobs for digital marketers through a certification program where people learn step by step how to do things from people who have actually done it. And I started over 20 years ago building the analytics at Yahoo, which back then was a great search engine. And
Yeah.
being able to learn from that experience hands-on as a search engine engineer taught me so much about things that I didn't know by taking classes or by doing watching YouTube videos that really required hands-on expertise and a framework, a set of checklists that other people can follow. And thus you can see through your own experience by following our checklists that these checklists work, and the more people that have checklists to be able to share, the more powerful it is. So I'm on a mission to create jobs for all of the young adults and not so young adults that want to learn digital marketing to drive sales. At the same time, help all the local businesses that are struggling. I think this is an incredible opportunity to be able to solve the jobs problem and solve the marketing problem at the same time.
Definitely. So I would like to keep the focus on Facebook's ad platform, as I believe that there's still no single ad platform that can compete with it in terms of value, price, and anything else. So what's happening today in the Facebook ads world? Some people are experiencing a drop in the conversions. Some people are experiencing a drop in the click-through rates. It's getting harder day by day for people who are not educated enough to take advantage of Facebook ads. Where do you think the platform is going today?
Yeah. It's funny because when you ask people about Facebook, you hear two different sides. You hear some people say, wow, this is amazing. The cost of traffic is a third of what it was, and it hasn't been since 2012. Traffic's been so cheap. Other people say, my ads are getting disapproved all the time. The cost of traffic is going up. My CPCs aren't as good. I'm getting disabled. And here's the reason why. Facebook has become a more complex, more intelligent machine. And with more ads and more traffic, they can't manually look at every single ad that's there. So if you violate any of their rules, then there's a high chance you will just get rejected and maybe even completely banned. And if you do things that are not high engagement or do things that are spammy or create negative feedback, that will decrease your relevance score rankings. You know, there are three components. They used to give you the exact number, but they don't anymore. And that will actually increase your cost of traffic no matter what your business objective is. So the net of all that is if you use engaging video in a 3-phase format, awareness, consideration, conversion, you will be able to get traffic prices that we saw back in 2012. Because when coronavirus hit, a lot of businesses couldn't advertise. And at the same time, a lot more people went online. So that created an incredible opportunity where when you in demand, the cost of traffic goes down because there's more people online and less advertisers. So if you can afford to advertise now, it is fantastic, but you have to be willing to do it through engagement video and sometimes not driving direct sales, but building community so that when businesses start to emerge out of this pandemic, they have the loyalty of customers that they're basically taking away market share from other folks who couldn't make it.
Is there any strategies that you recommend for people and brands who sell like low priced products? For example, the products that are costs $40 and less. If the advertising prices are higher and they are not being able to spend too much to acquire a customer, what strategies they should follow to cover their expenses?
Well, there's several things. If you've got a low price product in e-com, then you're limited in terms of the CPA you can afford. Because let's say you're selling a $40 product and you need at least a 5 ROAS to be able to make some profit. That means your CPA has to be $8 or less, right?
Yeah.
Well, so from there, if you break down the CPA, you then can have an allowable cost per click and therefore an allowable CTR and CPM. So let's say that 10% of the people who come to your site buy, and you have an $8 allowable CPA, that gives you an 80-cent CPC. If you have an 80-cent CPC and you have a 1% CTR, then on an $8 CPM, that will work. So if you can fix any of those variables along the way, like increasing your CTR, increasing the lifetime value, because maybe it's a $40 product, but you can upsell them to something else, or there's a subscription. So you increase the LTV, the lifetime value, from 40 to maybe 80. Maybe you say, free shipping if you spend at least $60 or something like that. Now, all of a sudden, there's much more that you can do. So everything that you can do to increase the LTV that allows you to then have more room to be able to pay for traffic is going to help you on Facebook. The trouble with Facebook is that most people don't realize, especially for low price e-com products, that your acquisition is going to be largely driven by remarketing, because Facebook is not where people are going to look for items. So if you're looking for the same dynamics that you would find on Google Shopping, you're just not going to see that. And however, if you set up your remarketing pixel initially at the bottom of the funnel, site abandonment, set up your dynamic ads the right way, then that actually can create good lookalike audiences on cold audiences that you then drive to an engagement video showing your products with, or not even just your product, but showing your customers, showing things that are interesting instead of trying to direct sell. The biggest issue I see with people who have lower priced products because they need to drive a low CPA for the numbers to work is they drive cold traffic straight to the sale. Their conversion rates are low, which jacks up their CPC, which ruins their relevance score. And then they get priced out of the market because in the auction, when you get penalized down to a 1, it's the same thing as on Google, you get a 1 quality score. Everything's just going to be that much more expensive. So the irony, which is counterintuitive, is if you are selling, whether it's lead gen or a low price product or services, you have to actually drive people to a mid-funnel engagement, to collect an email address, to entertain them, to educate them about something, and then remarket from that audience to the actual sale. And even though it looks like you're wasting money on that initial touch, the net cost of driving the conversion is better because your second touch acquisition costs less of that.
Yeah. I was also reading Russell Branson's book, Traffic Secrets, and he was talking about the traffic you own, that it's the best traffic you can use to generate sales. So what are your thoughts on sales funnels? Like, are you one of the people that use sales funnels for e-commerce products, for example, like to drive leads to subscribe to your email list and remarket them to your newsletter and these strategies?
Yep, that's a traditional sales funnel. If you look at Facebook, same thing for LinkedIn, Google, Snapchat, they use the same 3-stage funnel and they all use the exact same words. Even Twitter uses the exact same words, and that's awareness, consideration, and conversion. So if we follow that, we are using the platform the way they are meant to be used. However, there is now a modern twist on that, because awareness, a lot of people think as let's get people aware of the product. No, awareness is building connection with that company and with the people that are involved with it. The same way that in the real world, you want to meet a connection, you build friendships and then you trust them. Some people call that know, like, and trust. Or you get enamored with a founder's vision, with Kickstarter or what have you. And because of that, you believe in their vision and their story that you then want to buy their product. So we call that why, how, and what, which is awareness, consideration, conversion, which is the same thing as know, like, and trust. And so that is like what Russell talks about in Traffic Secrets. I was one of the first couple hundred people to get the book before it ever came out. I did too, right? We were part of that early group. And it's the same principle that we've always known. It has nothing to do with digital marketing. It is how people buy. The twist, though, especially with Facebook marketing, is that video has engagement, and video allows us to build remarketing audiences, which really isn't possible in an offline analogy. And so we've created something called the topic wheel. And we've taught that together with Facebook and GoDaddy and other folks, digital marketers, social media examiner, so that when people consume the outside of the wheel, which is a number of why stories, that then remarket into how, where you're sharing your knowledge, and then remarket into the what. Now you have the same 3-stage funnel, but it's wrapped in an onion, right? When you build it that way, that gives you evergreen power instead of what I see, especially with e-com or small businesses. is they go from campaign to campaign to campaign, and every time they start over from scratch with a new asset, with a new shot on goal, they don't have the ability to build upon what they already have. And that's when you don't have much money and you have to keep starting from zero, eventually you're going to run out of money or you're going to be frustrated, and then you just give up.
Yeah, yeah. And do you use only Facebook for these three phases, or are there any other sources that you integrate to your marketing campaign to drive traffic from there?
So it depends on the nature of the product and the audience we want to reach.
Yeah, got
In
it.
the same way, when we get services that are strong on Google or certain services, for example, if you want to do garage door repair, we do this for A1 garage. That's going to be really strong on Google because people are going to type in, repair my garage door.
Yeah,
But looks great recruiting employees. Facebook great word of mouth, letting other people in that same neighborhood know that A1 Garage is a trustworthy company, so that when they do have a broken garage door, when they do move, and then when they want to replace the garage door, they remember, yes, A1 Garage, I remember them. I'm going to choose them over the other people that show up in search results. So we like to use a multi-channel approach because, especially with Facebook, we see that drives the initial awareness and trust. And then later, people, when they're ready to buy, when they have a broken toilet, when they need to find a lawyer, when they need to buy a new watch, they're going to base it on what they remember and what their friends are using. So what we see is that Facebook is really good at helping Google convert.
yeah.
And analytics. You never can use Facebook all by itself. Maybe you can be lucky, but usually those strategies don't sustain.
So, what are the most important factors for a successful Facebook ad campaign? Do you take to account like the engagement or the conversions, or for sure it depends on your goals, but in general, do you like focus on the creative or the targeting? What are the most important factors you focus on?
So, Mano, if I were to, we're together on an airplane, let's say, what's more important, the altitude, the speed, the amount of gas that's in the gas tank, or the direction we're going, right? It's important. Airplane while we're flying together.
Everything together, but it depends like what's the priority for you.
Yep. And that's the way to think about it when you're looking at running ad campaigns. There's a lot of different components. You're in the pilot seat. And at any point in time, it could be because you had the wrong creative, you had the wrong targeting, or your tracking is broken, or there's someone making noise and it's distracting you. You want to be able to isolate those. So we look at a checklist that we call the social amplification engine. It's 6 phases. It's plumbing, goals, content, targeting, amplification, optimization. And when you apply that kind of analytics, you can isolate which thing is hurting you. Think about maybe in another analogy, you go to the hospital and you have pain. Maybe you have stomach pain, let's say, right?
Yeah.
But you don't know what it is. You have heartburn, maybe your stomach is an ulcer, maybe your appendix is going to burst, maybe you ate too much steak, right? What the hospital is going to do is, instead of giving everyone the same surgery, they're going to do an x-ray. They're going to do some blood. They're going to collect some vitals, right? And then based on that, they're going to make a recommendation that's specific to what's going to fix your problem. And all of us as digital marketers or entrepreneurs that want to use digital marketing to drive sales need to understand that the ability to diagnose what's going on is more important than saying, because a lot of people, when they ask this question, Mano, they're looking for an answer like, well, what you always need to do is focus on your custom audiences. I mean, yes, maybe not, right? It depends on your campaign. It might be different.
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk about the organic reach. Many people shifted their focus from Facebook to Instagram, especially people who don't spend money on advertising and they focus on organic reach. Do you think that it's the right move, or there's still a place to take advantage of Facebook's organic reach to reach new people?
Facebook organic reach has been a dead horse that's been beaten for quite a while about how bad it's been and how the average reach is 1.5 to 2%. And for the bigger brands, it's even lower. Certain brands that have high consumer appeal, that are entertainment or not even sports anymore, because that's not going on right now, they may do pretty well, but most businesses don't have something interesting and sexy, and they don't produce that level of video. So you have to use ads if you want to be able to drive sales. That's just kind of how it is. And we think of advertising as a way of testing, not as a way of paying money for the heck of it, but it's a way of testing to be able to amplify what's working. If you have something that's already working, Mano, let's say that we create a campaign And by the way, free organic isn't free. So let's say you put in $10 and you get back $20.
Yeah.
Do you feel good about that? Simple question. You give me $10 and I hand you back 20. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, if it's profitable for me, definitely yes.
Yeah, I'm making this really simple. You give me $10, I give you $20. Is that a good? There's no catch. I'm making it very simple. Are you happy? I'm trying to make this so simple that everyone listening here will understand this concept. So that's good. Okay, so that's round one. Then round two is you hand me $11 and I give you back $20. Are you happy?
Yes.
Yeah. And then now you give me $12 and I give you $20. Now you got salary.
If my margins are getting lower, I will start like my expectations will fall and start not being happy about that.
Right. And so as I increase the price for us to play this round, like the first round, you give me 10 and I give you back 20, you made $10 profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as you start to play further, because you have, supply and demand curves, at a certain point, you give me 19 and I give you back 20, right?
Yeah.
So you're not as happy marginally. However, if we're playing this game and it takes multiple rounds, so you give me 10, you give me 11, you give me 12, and each time we keep going, are you going to stop at the first round or are you going to keep going?
I will be keeping going like just till the cost wouldn't be satisfying for me, for sure.
So you would stop at the point where if you give me 20, I give you back 20, right? You wouldn't go any further than that, right?
Sure.
And so this is the way to think about paid. If you have something that's working already, that's the organic signal. So you have an email campaign that's working. You rank on a particular word organically. You have some kind of word of mouth campaign through influencers and it's working. And maybe it's semi-organic because you had to pay to sponsor it. You had to pay to write the blog post. You still have to pay for hosting. You have to pay for ClickFunnels.
Yeah.
Everything there's a cost. The cost of your time, right? Well, if you have something that's working, this is the thing that people don't understand about paid. If you have something that's working, are you willing to pay money to get a little bit more, even if the conversion isn't as good as organic? So when Russell says, yeah, start with your organic, of course, several reasons for that. A, it's your best audience because they've already identified with you. And B, it doesn't cost you anything. Keep sending more emails, for example. However, that organic audience is limited. And by posting more often on Facebook, sending out more emails, there's a limit before people get tired of you because the audience has a limit size and the audience has a limit in their tolerance of messages from you. What you want to do is get more people that look like people who have already bought from you. And that is where you use advertising. That's why arguably the most powerful thing on Facebook is a custom audience that turns into a strong lookalike audience.
Yeah.
But if you don't have good custom audience of at least a couple hundred people who have converted, not a couple hundred people who've been to the website, not people who bought in the last year or two, but high value people who have bought recently, who exhibit certain characteristics that you can create good content against, then you're going to unlock the power of Facebook. And that's why you see people succeed or not succeed on Facebook is that generally their lookalike audiences aren't high enough quality. And thus everything they do mechanically to create Facebook ads might be correct, but the signal they put in isn't strong enough.
Yeah, I got it. So recently I have been digging into Facebook groups and I was amazed by the huge opportunity there to build a community and get attention. What's your experience with Facebook groups and what type of content do you think is the best to publish there?
Facebook groups is one of the most underutilized, underrated assets on Facebook. And that's because most of it needs to be organic. And most people think of Facebook groups as another outlet, as like another page. But a Facebook group and a Facebook page are not the same thing. A Facebook page is a public entity to put out content, and it's more of a one-way interaction. I mean, yes, people can comment and share and like, but it's mostly one way. And because it's open, you're able to potentially get more reach. But people are less likely to want to engage with it because of the fact that it's open. And that's the irony. A group is people have signed up for the group because they believe in something, because they have a common cause, because you're sharing information. And thus the nature of being a member of a group where you have to be a member, whether it's secret or public, right? you are still providing a program, there's an expectation that it's community versus a page is usually for advertising and more top of funnel. So
Mm-hmm.
we like to think for customers and existers or people that have engaged with you enough, even if they haven't paid you anything, they believe in what you're doing and they're also very likely to buy, or they're following some kind of process. Like we have a certification that you probably are aware of that we've started with Jake Paul, and Jake Paul is launching the financial freedom movement to certify young adults to be digital marketers, to be influencers. And by joining groups and by joining the program, they understand there's an expectation that there's training along the way, that there's support, there's tools, that there's resources. You wouldn't expect to see a structured program as part of a Facebook page, right? The Facebook page builds community, or not builds community, but builds the awareness that there's a community, so then people are willing to join a group.
Yeah. And LinkedIn is growing so rapidly. So, what are your thoughts on LinkedIn? Do you think that it can be the next best platform after Facebook?
LinkedIn has always been a B2B platform. They've been known for jobs and, going there when you're looking for a job and doing career stuff. But in the last 3 years, I've had more engagement on LinkedIn than Facebook. I've done more business on LinkedIn. I even had one post go viral just on my profile, no ads or anything like that, and got 2 million reach. Just one post. And I've never had that on Facebook. I've never had posts on Facebook go to 10,000, 20,000 shares. But LinkedIn, I get way more. Like when I post a video on Facebook, personally, they don't tell you what the stats are because that's just how it is on Facebook. LinkedIn, of course, tells you more. But, I might get 5,000, 10,000 views. When I post on LinkedIn, I get 40 to 50,000 views. And I get it consistently because there's less competition, because the network is still very big. There's less people that are posting. As long as it's helpful content, because of course the nature of LinkedIn is it's professional. I want to learn something. It's not just jobs, but I want to improve myself, or it's about entrepreneurship or my habits, something that's more about becoming a better person, not like, oh, look at this funny cartoon, right? When we understand that LinkedIn is a little bit different in that aspect, and we're there to engage and build connections in a different way, more like jobs and entrepreneurship, then it's not that it's better than Facebook. I find that there's a lot of content I can actually cross post to Facebook, and a lot of content that wouldn't work on Facebook that works well on LinkedIn, so that I spend more time on LinkedIn than I do on Facebook.
And they are pushing the organic reach. I have been so active on LinkedIn as well in the past like 8 or 9 months, and the organic reach is so high again. So I post a video or a photo, for example, even I still don't have an engagement on it. After 10 minutes, like it gets to 200, it reaches 200 people without any engagement on it. It's really
you're fantastic.
awesome.
You've got good content, and I see your content even on Facebook, like promoting our episode. I like that. Wow, got a lot of engagement. And you know why? Even though it had after 10 minutes had no engagement, it got a lot of views. It's because the algorithm remembers how you've done. It's like being, they already know you're good, so you're good. But if you have bad engagement, then they're already judging you as guilty. So it's like a GPA, if you will, right? You've always gotten A's, then you're going to get more A's. So this reinforces itself, which is unfortunate for people that are new, because if you're not driving a lot of engagement, you won't drive the reach. So I see friends that post things that I think are pretty good, but they don't get any reach. And so that's why you need paid to get the reach out there, to then earn your way into the algorithm, or pay your way into the algorithm, and then everything organically will do better after that.
Yeah, that's true. So, Dennis, before we wrap up, where can people find you and join your trainings?
The best way is to actually, when is this episode going live?
Maybe after a few days, like 3 or 4 days.
Go to conquerlocalacademy.com. Or if you want to connect with me, look me up on LinkedIn, look me up on Twitter. I would love to see whatever your feedback is. If you've made it all the way to the end of Mano and I talking, I would love to hear. I'd love to hear about your struggles. Please don't ask me about ad accounts being disapproved. Don't ask me for an introduction to Mark Zuckerberg. Don't ask me for tickets to Warriors. Don't ask me for an angel investment. but I would still like to know how you're doing in digital marketing. Are you starting an agency? Do you have a local services business? I would love to see you succeed, and follow folks like Mano. He's gone through these principles that have still worked, even what you said, 3 years, 4 years later.
Yeah.
I'd encourage you to follow what Mano's doing. The fact that you're here means you're in the right place. You're following someone who's very smart. You always
Thank
want to
you.
learn from the people who are successful, not just the people who have podcasts, but the people who've applied it for several years and have found success, not just one time. So, Mano, it is an honor to spend time with you.